What is up, Retro Maniacs? Welcome to Retro Card Chat Podcast. Who's your friend? Who's your buddy? I am, aren't I? My name is Mike, and I'm from Mike's Retro Trading Cards. And I am joined by the Dewey Oxberger and the Francis Sawyer of the sports card collecting marketplace. They are Joe Day and EP Erica Halleck. How you doing, guys?
Doing great.
Wait a minute. I randomly brought up Stripes literally right before we started recording this. Was that an on-the-fly switch, or did you have that locked and loaded?
I had that planned out for 4 or 5 days now.
That's
ridiculous.
So weird. That is so weird. Oh, I need a beer after that. I mean, I'm just gonna.
We need to clue the viewers
needed.
in. We need to cut in before the intro there and let them see what all happened there.
We need some Patreon content.
How you doing, guys? EP, I believe last week on the episode you may have made a bold claim and dared the viewers to give you 3 comments and 20 likes. Well, they smashed that. Apparently, they want to see you eat 35-year-old gum.
I shot too low at 20. I should have went like 50, right? I have no problem eating the gum. I should have shot for 50. But so yeah, I got it right here, still in the container.
Oh, don't worry, EP. We're already thinking of other weird things you can eat.
Oh, is that right?
Throughout the podcast, so that'll be an ongoing segment to get likes for sure.
People enjoy you eating weird stuff. Okay,
it's the same one out of the pack with the weird coloration.
1988 Topps baseball.
You have to lick the pack
87,
too.
87.
Okay,
87 Topps. And again, it looks.
So we are right at 35 years.
It looks kind of fine.
I'm sure it's
There's
fine.
no mold.
In this lighting, it looks a little worse than it did last week. And in this situation where I'm actually going to eat it now.
Do you have medical supplies just in case?
Yes, I do.
Show us the medical supplies.
I got the Fireball to wash it down.
Yeah. Now, do you want me to leave you on the stream here if you drop over, or should we?
Don't take my window. I'll just leave it open.
Okay, all right.
You can put like a little in memoriam thing across here.
Okay,
in memoriam of EP.
Are you going to chew it, or are you going to just eat it?
Oh, it disintegrates in your mouth. Like I've had like 1991, like 1991 or whatever before. This is the oldest I've had though, so this is going to be.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen.
It's actually making me physically ill watching.
Look at the look on his face. I can tell it tastes pretty good.
It is. You know how?
After that.
Oh, you know how old cards smell?
Mm-hmm.
Like the 87s and 85s and 84s. That's what it tastes like. It tastes like I'm eating a really old baseball card.
Oh,
there's no chewing it. It's all gone.
It's gone.
I'm gonna be tasting this all day.
You gotta wash that down. You gotta wash it down. There you go.
Oh wow! Oh my goodness! Oh, I'm dying.
Push that around. Push it around.
That's a bad mix. Oh my gosh! Some of it's
like
my
when
teeth.
You brush your teeth and drink orange juice. Is that what we're talking about here?
Oh my gosh!
Oh wow!
It was worth it.
Yeah, I'm awake now though. I'm more awake than I was about to drink my coffee.
Oh
man!
All right, comment below on what you want to see EP eat next.
Give me a week off. Give me a week. 1 week.
Yeah,
this is an ongoing segment. This is weekly.
Oh, for
a weekly
segment. Right.
Oh my goodness! I'm dying over here.
We need to talk about cards when you have that going on.
Exactly. So, how do you feel right now? How do you feel about your decision to make the claim that you would eat that piece of gum?
I'm fine with it. I mean, obviously it tastes terrible, but I'm okay with it.
I give you major props because you actually ate it. You didn't chew it up and spit it out.
No
some
chewing.
Of the amateurs out there.
Mm-hmm.
We do things hardcore here.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm impressed.
Good job,
wow, EP, find something interesting. Do you want to eat a card next week? That'd be pretty good.
I just ate one. I seriously I can only imagine that eating a 1987 Topps baseball card is exactly what that tastes like.
Well,
only it doesn't disintegrate.
100 likes, and we will find out next week. 100 likes.
I feel like our viewers want to know if the card actually tastes the same as the gum.
Listen, it has to.
I do. I know I do.
I can't imagine it tastes anything like anything else. Like
100
But maybe
likes,
it will.
everyone. He
Maybe
will
it'll
eat
taste
a
like
card from
fish. I don't
1987.
know.
nope,
100 likes.
nope. I did not agree to that. I did not sign that
If we get
contract.
100 likes, you have
Oh,
to.
wow.
You have to.
I'll put it. I'm not gonna say I'm gonna swallow it, but I'll put it in my mouth and chew on it for a while and taste it. If we get 100 likes, I will put a 1987 Topps card in my mouth and chew on it for a while.
Oh my goodness!
And taste it. Let you know what it tastes like, but I am not going to swallow a 1987 Topps baseball
I am
card.
creating 99 other accounts right now.
Wow, you didn't think about that before now. Wow, we should have done that long ago.
Yeah, really. Buy some
big
bots
wigs
or
by
something.
now. Oh wow. Okay, well that was a lot of fun, but we
How do you
do
follow
have
that?
some
Just
business
shut
at
it
hand
down.
here.
How do you follow that up?
I just wanted to show people we rip on Panini all the time, but I finally got my Paul Heyman autograph redemption back from them. I only sent it in April. I just randomly looked on
April of what year?
Thursday. April of this year, believe it or not.
Okay.
So I just randomly looked at my account this Thursday and I was like, where did that go? Like, there's only one here. I still have another one, Ramondre Stevenson, by the way.
I thought it was Elijah Moore, but you did.
No,
get
I got that
back.
one too. Yeah.
And
I was like, oh God,
likely,
did they send me points? What are they doing? And I looked and they actually shipped it and it was coming the next day. And boy, I got it on Friday.
I think Paul
was like,
saw
wow.
your collection. Paul saw your collection.
I said that,
And said,
right?
I got to get this man.
Yeah.
He called him up and
he saw the collection. Like, you know what? My man doesn't have a Prism autograph. I better go sign some of these, make sure he gets it. And I appreciate that, you know?
I actually have a question for you about your Heyman collection real quick, Mike.
Okay.
So I'm starting myself a Kenny Pickett collection. Okay. Are you planning on slabbing any of your Heymans? Or are you keeping them in one touch? You will? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I know like the one select out of 5 that I bought has a little bit of an issue at the top. So I like not worth grading. I don't know. Some of the like the, you know how I like the 2014 and 2015 Topps Chrome.
Yeah.
I have some nice raw cards of those. I'll probably get those graded. I don't like, I would like to send some into CSG or something just to have them slab, but like that, knowing that numbered out of 5 is damaged, I don't really know what I want to do because I don't want to send it in and get a 5. So
I mean,
it's probably a 5. So
the obvious thing is you should go get the other 4. You should get all 5 of them, and you have to be able to grade one of them. Yeah.
Well, if they show up on eBay, I'm not going to say I will, but I'm not going to say I won't. You never know. I was proud of myself this last week though, because there was another gold that was out there, and I looked through my cards. I'm like, oh, I have that gold. I was like, I could get another one. But then 20%. I was like, you know what? No, I don't need that. So I didn't buy it. I feel like that's progress.
Good job, buddy.
All right. Well, enough about me. Let's get to the odd happenings in the hobby this week. You know, last week we talked about, you know, backyard breaks, the whole thing with them getting juiced up cases, whether or not that's possible. Well, this week we had some more odd stuff happening. Without comment, I will just mention what happened. There were 2 different breakers that were breaking Bowman Sterling baseball that had packs pulled out of it that had a red mark on it. It looked like just somebody took a red marker and quickly marked the pack. The one pack had a 1-of-1 super refractor in it. It was, I guess, not a very popular player, not a super expensive card, but still 1-of-1 super refractor. And another one had a dual autograph of Julio Rodriguez and somebody else and numbered 25. And these were breakers. They were opening the boxes right there on video. So there was no funny business going on with that. You know, I'm sure there are a lot of people out there now that are marking their packs and just saying, oh, look, I got one too. But the original 2, I mean, I don't know what it means. I don't know if it's random, but it's definitely odd. Wouldn't you agree?
I would. I just saw on Twitter too last night that someone posted a pack trying to disprove this theory. He said, I got one of those. And then he showed what it was. And he goes, see, I didn't get anything big. He still got a card numbered out of 25, I think. So it's not like he didn't get that too. Nothing. I'm like, I don't think you're making the point you think you are.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, it is. Is it some rogue agent at Topps like checking off where the big hits are, or is it just something part of the manufacturing or production process? I don't know, but it's not a great look. I mean, this is now two things that have happened with Topps over the last couple of weeks that have been kind of iffy. It makes you wonder if something's going on shady at the factories that stuff like this is happening.
Yeah, I like to believe that there's nothing shady going on. I mean, there very well could be, but I mean,
There's a
I could totally
shocker.
see, I could totally see a lot of different things happening. I could see them just marking packs that have hits to make sure that there's a hit in every box, but I don't think I don't think there's anything nefarious going on with this. I think if it was, we would see more. I would have seen more of them if that's the case. In my opinion, I feel like it's. I want to know how many other 101s were pulled that didn't have a marked pack. Like that's one of the things that I want to know.
Yeah, I mean that's important
The
information.
thing to that point though, EP, the one thing I thought is maybe there were and no one noticed. You ever remember the old adage like you don't really notice a car until you buy that car, and then all of a sudden they're all over the street. That's what happened here. Maybe there were marked packs and no one noticed it until someone pointed it out and then said, "Oh, wait a minute. Maybe there are more than just these handful." It's random to only have a handful of them. Like it would make more sense if every box had one or none had one, but to have a handful of one, that literally would just be a rogue person at Topps marking maybe a case or a couple of cases of cards.
I think saying Topps is probably maybe going too far. It's at the manufacturing manufacturing facility is like probably overseas, and it's probably I'm guessing it's probably happening there. And I don't know. Like again, like
I mean, I'm sure they're all employees. At the end of the day, they're all getting paid from Topps, making money. I mean, that's like saying that.
Well, the printing company is
paid
by Topps to print for them, but the people working for the printing company are paid by the printing company.
You're always responsible for your contractors, man.
Yeah, but I mean, they probably print for multiple companies though. They probably are printing just for Topps. Like that's, I mean, I'm guessing it's a manufacturing thing where they're marking certain packs for some reason. And I to back to your point, Joe, for a second, like the thing about these packs is they're completely like silver. I think there's nothing on them, and so like I would think that people would see a red mark. There'd be a lot more of them popping up. I think if it was a widespread thing, in my opinion, and it's a relatively high end product. I don't know how many cases or whatever have been made, but I'm guessing there have been a handful of other 101s pulled, a handful of other 20 number to 25 autos and stuff pulled that don't have red packs. So this goes back to transparency and all that sort of stuff. You know, like we don't know anything about their numbers, anything about the numbers of hits, that sort of stuff right now. So
here's a possibility. What is there any potential likelihood that the rolls of foil that they're using for packing the cards, maybe somebody had to put a mark on like the roll of foil before they put it in the machine? Maybe it was totally random. I don't know. Like,
right.
Like we don't know. And again, but the one takeaway I get from it is though, if it's actually packs being marked because something was supposed to go into it, that feeds into the fact that maybe people at the plant, like people have to know what's going in where. After our discussion last week, and I saw a lot of people saying how, you know, all the stuff's packed totally random, but like I watched, everybody points to the video Panini had. I don't know if you guys ever saw it, of their packing process. It was posted in like 2010. It's an old video, but like the one thing, what I saw from it, and I don't know if I'm right or not, but like when it came to the collating part, there were a couple different areas that were adding cards at different rates. That would say to me that somebody fills those hoppers, so to speak, that are putting those cards in that are being inserted, is what I took from it. And like, again, so if somebody's adding the cards to that stack that are going to be put in, couldn't they put certain ones in the early ones? Like, you know, the big one is going right away, or the big one's the last one. Like, it just, all this stuff together makes you wonder about what kind of funny business could actually be going on at the printing company. I agree with you last week, EP, that I don't think Panini had, and if Backyard Breaks was getting a case that was juiced. It wasn't from Panini. I feel like anything weird that is going on has to be coming from the printing company, like maybe the employees that work there. Doesn't that seem more likely?
Yeah. Yep.
It's possible. I mean, anything's possible, and that's the problem. I mean, you said, and someone actually made a comment during our conspiracy theory short prints about, oh, haha, Panini has done a video showing you the process.
That was the one I watched too.
And I'm like, and you said the same thing then. It was like from 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Maybe update that a little bit. Maybe show us, because it's not these type of packs that I'm worried about. And this is not where the Logo Man came from, for example. It's the National Treasures. It's the Flawless. It's the Impeccable. It's the ones where it's like 10 cards in a box that is a machine sending those cards through? I doubt it. I mean, that has to be almost hand collated, doesn't it? I mean, it's impossible to think that 10 thick cards like that are just randomly being put into packs. There has to be some sort of hand collation involved. I don't know, but again, I don't know, just because
that's what I said too. I watched that video, and you could clearly see like different stacks that had cards in it that were being inserted into the packs at different ratios. I don't know if the production process, if those were automatically fed, or if like somebody's getting the sheets of, say, the 1 of 1s, and then they put them in that thing that randomizes it. I like that part. You can't tell. And I don't know, I could be completely wrong, but like looking, there were these big, tall towers of cards that kind of looked like they would be something that would be hand fed before the collation would be started, which, even though everything's being packed by machine, if somebody's loading up one part of it by hand, again, there's access to stuff by human beings. And if there's access by human beings, there's potential for that human being to decide they want to do something. Again, we have no proof of any of this, but like you get to the point where there's so much weird stuff happening. Like everybody talks about the McDonald's, the Monopoly game. Like people at the time, if we would have had a podcast HBO, talking about that, everybody would have said the same things they're saying now about, there's no proof. Come on, how are the printers? And then it ended up being that. So like, I just don't like the brushing it off like this could never happen. Things can happen. And if we don't question it, it will happen right under our noses, and we'll just go, no, that isn't happening. And one day we'll find out again.
Anytime there's money involved, I mean, it doesn't just have to be cards. Great point about the Monopoly game thing. Like I said, great documentary on HBO if you haven't seen it about that. But I mean, anytime that there's a possibility to scam, not just in the hobby, anytime there's a possibility to scam anything, someone's going to scam. And it seems, I mean, we notice it here more because that's what we're involved in. But I'm sure it's any sort of industry or anything that money can change hands. People are figuring out a way to take that money from someone else any way they can. And when there's this much smoke, there's got to be some fire somewhere, right? EP, you're the skeptic. I mean, what do you think?
I mean, I think my biggest take on this whole thing is, and I think I've said this once before, like I hope this leads to them taking a camera into the printing facility, showing stuff getting taken care of. At least if a company wants to prove they're above board, now's the time to do it, because if there's anything else that happens, another pack that's marked or something like that, or another situation where some big breaker pulls huge cards, it's going to be called into question again. Even it's going to get worse and worse until they start being transparent about everything.
And I believe Panini and Topps use the same printer for a lot of
Wasn't that a big thing where Topps was like basically threatening the printer to not do Panini products because like they were trying to corner that market so that Panini wouldn't have an opportunity to print cards anymore?
Yeah, Fanatics, not Topps. Yeah, I think it was Fanatic.
Yeah, there are rumors about that. I don't know how true or not they were.
I interchanged those two titles, but Topps, Fanatics, whatever. But one of them was the rumor was that they were trying to stop Panini from being able to print cards as a a tool to try and buy them out.
Well, speaking of Panini, another oddity this week I saw last night. There was someone, Mike Bev on Instagram. He opened quite a bit of impeccable WWE. The one box he had, this is all on video too. I'll try to get a picture of it and throw it up here for the viewers when we post this. But one of the boxes was missing a card, and it had a handwritten like index card that had loop 9 0.20 box 3 1/1 on it. So I don't know what that means, but it
is there a wrestler named Luke?
No, Loop,
okay.
Loop.
Loop,
So
okay.
I imagine it has to do with like the production loops, like how many times.
It feels like a quality control thing to me. Like that normally they throw away as they're getting things done, and this one unfortunately got stuck into the pack. Is what
so
like to me.
It kind of like, I wonder though, like, is that like, what do they use that for? Like, EP, maybe you can shed some light because you're in the newspaper business. Like, I don't know, was that like, were they trying to figure out what order they were going to put stuff to be randomly inserted in the packs? And was there supposed to be a 1-of-1 card in that they didn't put in and that got there in place? Or did that card get put in and they forgot to take this out? Like, no idea what it means, but like, to open up a $500 box of cards and get a handwritten index card and be missing a card is something that people need to talk about. And, you know, we all know Panini probably won't respond to the guy. Like, he'll just be SOL.
Right.
Like,
yeah,
everybody is tagging Panini on Instagram. I would be surprised if they say anything at all to him.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but when I was doing my stack sale, when I got stacks for people, I would take index cards, cut them into thirds, and then I would write the name of the person on it and put that card along with their cards. And so, I mean, I think of this as something where they're using this as a placeholder, either for a card or just to track something in the process. I'm thinking loop 9 probably means some part of the printing press. I mean, there's loop 9, but I'm not sure what lingo they use for all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I really think. It seems to me like a quality control type thing of some type, but I wouldn't want to try to guess whether it was some sort of hit that's supposed to be in there or a replacement card. Maybe there's maybe a card got damaged or a whole sheet got damaged, so they had to print another one at the end of the run, and they were supposed to insert that in there, and then that. So I mean, it could be any number of things, but it feels like a quality control type thing that slipped into the pack, and so that never got taken care of.
Were they missing a card, Mike, out of that pack?
Yeah.
Or the box?
They were supposed to have 9,
was it a hit?
and they only had 8. I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the guy wasn't really sure what it would have been. So.
Right. But the 1/1, I mean, makes you think that, maybe they missed out on a pretty big card.
Yeah, right? That's exactly what his thought was. He was there supposed to be a 1-of-1 in here that didn't get put in? And a lot of we talk about this all the time. I feel like if there was more transparency in the card industry from the companies and the printers, that we knew what stuff was, maybe a lot of this stuff could be explained and people wouldn't have to try to figure it out on their own. But the constant occurrences of all this stuff coming up and the deafening silence from the companies that should be responsible for it, just like, that fuels the fire for all this stuff. Anybody who is thinking there's something weird going on about this, if something else happens and there's no response from a company, they're just going to add that to the list and the fire is going to grow bigger. Like, why can't the companies just be a little more transparent with us and let us know that these little things aren't really a big deal? Explain what they are so we know as collectors we're putting a lot of money into your product. Like, asking for a little bit of transparency. Why don't you want us to know?
Right. And that's why I don't give Panini a pass on, maybe it's just the printers are doing some shady stuff. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that. At the end of the day, the buck has to stop with someone, whether it's Topps, whether it's Panini, Fanatics. The buck has to stop with someone. And if all this stuff is coming up, if you're not willing to sit down and talk about it, it just makes you look shady as hell. It makes it look like you're hiding something. And they could be completely innocent, and there might be literally nothing going on. But, I said last week, if I was Panini, I wouldn't respond to Sports Card Radio. I just think it would be a bad look to add, fuel to that fire. But there are enough other stuff that they could probably respond to, like cards missing, like quality control of the cards that they're sending out, dinged up optic and scratched up chrome cards and all this. There's a lot of other stuff that they could talk about and put out there and do some videos. Panini, though, at this point, they've got to be almost checked out. They're like, well, whatever. I mean, you guys can complain about whatever is going on. That's fine. We're going to be selling this whole thing soon anyway. We don't care about transparency. But if Michael Rubin wants to grow the hobby 10 times, he's going to have to be, because new people coming in the hobby may be a little less interested in letting fanatics slide by with some of the shady stuff that's going on, or what looks shady anyway. And they might start pushing back. So if you want to grow this hobby, you need to be a lot more transparent than you are about the entire process. And the card industry, for some reason, it seems like everything's proprietary. We're going to talk about SGC here in a little bit. I mean, grading companies are the same way. They don't want to talk about anything going on in their process. And you have to wonder, I mean, beyond technology that's specialized, what are you hiding? Why is it such a big deal to let us kind of behind the curtain?
Yeah, just go back to Mike's point, just to start this conversation. Like they should be out there denying it. That's the bottom line. If they're not going to deny it, their silence is. It seems like they're guilty. Like, you know what I mean? Like in this case, they're not confirming or denying anything. So I mean, they're going to continue to be looked at by a lot of people as being guilty in this case. But both companies at this point, with the Bowman Sterling and the Panini stuff.
Yeah. And, we've talked about it a lot before. I think the exclusive licensing and the lack of competition is a big reason for that. They're basically, what are you going to do? You're going to go buy your wrestling cards from who? Yeah. So, unfortunately, lack of competition breeds that kind of behavior. And with fanatics taking over everything, boy, I mean, I hope that they change it a little bit, but what incentive will they have to do that? So all right. Well, go ahead.
Because that's what they try not to let monopolies happen.
Yeah. Try not to. We could have that discussion, but it would take an hour. Do you guys remember Beckett Grading Services?
I've heard of that.
What was it again? Can you say it again?
Beckett Grading Service.
First people we ever graded with, I believe.
Memory.
I remember from like the late 90s.
1999.
I didn't know they were still around. Yeah, I think they might have made a price guide or something too back in the day. I don't know. But apparently they're still around, and they recently announced their new collector's special. They're going to be grading without subgrades. You can get $18 a card if you have 20 or more, and $16 a card if you have 40 or more, with no subgrades. If you want subgrades, it's going to cost you $22 a card for 10 or more, 30 to 60 day turnaround for both. I like the idea that they're trying to get some business back, but you have subgrades. You are the only big grading company that offers subgrades. Why are you even messing around with the $16 and $18 for no sub? Make that your subgrade. Like, you're grading the card anyway. How much more work is it? Like, I don't understand. Like, jump on your we give you subgrades thing. If you want subgrades, grade with us. We'll tell you why your card is the grade it got. Like, and offer that for the lower price. Why are you still trying to push the slabs that nobody wants?
Yeah, go ahead, EP.
I was just gonna say, like, the part of what makes BGS special are the subgrades, and you're offering this collector special. Like, make it special. Like, just give it to them right out of the gate. Like, why are you
the only thing they offer that people care about?
Yeah, like, why gate it behind an extra $4 or whatever, or $8 or whatever, or $6, whatever it was? Like, this seems crazy to me. Like, well, I mean, if you're trying to get back in the good graces of your customers and potential customers, why make them jump through hoops for the one thing that you offer that is amazing? Like, really the best part of their slabs.
They could absolutely corner a market of the hobby. Just take market share from PSA, SGC, CSG, all the big ones, if they just did subgrades. I mean, there is a segment of this hobby that they really care about subgrades. The folks that grade PMGs, the Marvel cards, not just Marvel cards either, by the way. I see a lot of PMGs beyond just Marvel, the old school from the 90s in Beckett slabs, because the grading and how it works out makes more sense for cards that, maybe come out of the pack with bad edges, and they're going to. They could just totally steal a portion of the hobby. And in my opinion, the low price should be the subgrades. So what, the $16 or whatever it is, that should be the subgrades. Pay an extra $4 to $6 or $8 or whatever it is for graders notes. How comic books have graders notes. Okay, charge me $16 for the subgrades because you're grading anyway. How much more time does that take? Literally 15 seconds, right?
Right.
Charge me the extra $6 for graders notes. I'm sure there are people out there that would pay an extra couple of bucks to have the full report. No one wants your non-subgrade slabs. If you're a BGS collector, you're a BGS collector because of subgrades.
Right.
If you don't want subgrades, you're sending them someplace else. Like you're sending them to PSA or SBC. So what are you doing? I mean, your prices are competitive, but the services you're offering, and we talked about it before we started the pod. I just got some Kenny Pickett cards in, and there are a couple of thick ones in there that I would like to have slabbed. And I don't want to go with SGC. I don't think they look good in a tux. They're ultra modern, right? I considered Beckett. I'm considering sending them to BGS, and it's possible. I'm going to pay for the subgrades, but I think it's ridiculous that I have to.
Yeah, and PSA just dropped to 18. So now you're at 18 for your non-subgrades. Like, people don't want Beckett slabs without subgrades. Like, there's an opportunity. Okay, the number one company is at 18. We were number two. Maybe we still are, maybe we aren't, but we've been doing this a long time. We're going to give you the same price, but you get subgrades. Like, that is so easy. Like, I don't know how they make the decisions they make. We didn't even talk about the point that they didn't have the subgrade option as part of their special to begin with. They came out with just the non-subgrades, and people are like, why are you not giving us subgrades too? And
just go to PSA.
Oh yeah, we're gonna give you this too. Yeah. So, but you have an opportunity there, but why are people gonna pay you $18 for a card to get graded when they can send it to PSA? Basically the same turnaround time, maybe a little longer at PSA, but people aren't going to send it to BGS. You need to get people to want to send it there. Give them subgrades.
Yep, absolutely. And I wasn't exaggerating, by the way, real quickly. BGS was the first company you and I, Mike, ever sent cards to. I still have some of my OG BGS slabs, and they were tough. I mean, I'm looking at a Peyton Manning I have, and I'm like, how is this not a 9? Like, nowadays it's definitely a 9. It might be a 10. Hell. But they were tough. When they graded something 8, it's an 8. When they graded something 9, it's a 9. And they've definitely gone away from that as well. But yeah, I can't imagine having a BGS slab without subgrades. It just makes zero sense to me.
I agree. All right. Speaking about grading companies, Northeast Ohio Cards and Comics this week had an interview with Peter from SGC, as everybody likes to call him. Name's Peter Steinberg. They never seem to use his last name, but he's Peter from SGC. Peter's a great guy. I love watching all the interviews he does. Like, he represents that company really well. But Neo added a clip this week of them talking about, we talked couple pods ago about altering cards, about cleaning cards, and what we thought was acceptable and what wasn't. Well, Rob asked him this specific question, and I thought it was great. Like, in listening to his answer, basically, to paraphrase, he said, if there's nothing there for us to see, we aren't going to catch anything. Like, just to be brutally honest, if somebody is cleaning a card, doing something, and there's no trace of anything left behind, we can't do anything about it because we don't know. If there's any kind of residue or something left on the card, they'll catch it and they'll kick it back. So like his stance on it, which makes perfect sense to me, like we are kind of there. Like we talked about that. If you're changing the card, then it's altering. If you're really not changing the card, it's fine. And I kind of feel like his answer kind of went hand in hand with what we said about it.
Yeah, I mean that has to be that way. Like what they don't know any better. They're just looking at a perfect card. Where when we got it, there was fingerprints and like we talked about the 1999 Topps Chrome, like shellac, whatever gets all over it. We talked about that a number of times. Like it's, I mean, it's it's bad. But so I mean, like he's totally right. Like how would they know? Unless like the person sending it in said, "Hey, this card was whatever, but I cleaned it and I used a marker on this black part."
Yeah.
I will say right out of the gate, Peter, if you're watching, or if anyone watching knows Peter, let him know. Come on our podcast because we actually use SGC. We actually submit cards with SGC and don't just say we do just to make it look good. We actually like SGC. So Peter, if you want to come and talk to some real SGC collectors, come on our pod. We won't lie to you. I think I mentioned this during our pod too. It's very similar to and Rob from Northeast Ohio Cards and Comics. He mentioned this as well with the cleaning of the comic books and kind of said what's acceptable and what's not. I really like that part of Peter's answer because he basically said it's because the collectors don't find it acceptable. I mean, comic book collectors do. They're okay with pressing and all that stuff. Card collectors don't, and that's fine. And I really respected that answer because could you imagine as upfront as Nat Turner is on Twitter and he's willing to like talk to people, you know, he's helped me out a couple of times. He helped you out, Mike. I don't see him ever responding directly to a question like that. Like it just seemed like very Peter just doesn't come across as like a corporate guy who is going to give you the political answer. He was really upfront with it. I would be interested in seeing the technology he was speaking about that, you know, the graders, you know, use this like thing to blow up the card and they're able to take note of certain spots. But yeah, I mean, we've talked about it before. If you're adding something to the card, it shouldn't be authentic. It shouldn't be graded. And he, 100% agreed with that. And then the Topps Chrome example is perfect, EP. I mean, I use eyeglass wipes that are non-alcoholic, and I wipe down the Topps Chrome cards and takes the film away. It doesn't do anything detrimental to the card, doesn't add anything. It's just taking away something that wasn't there in the first place. So to me, that's not doing anything that should result in it not being gradable or anything like that. But when you're adding things to the card, that's when it becomes an issue.
Peter from SGC also kind of called out PSA a little bit too, saying that, you know, basically the industry leader being silent about it. Like he's like, you won't ever hear them come out and answer a question like this. And he's right. Like, and you should. And it goes back to our transparency thing. Like people are doing this. This is a new thing. Not even a new thing. This has been going on for a while, but like it's a little more open now. People are actively selling products to try to fill in little divots and stuff on
people
a card.
Are doing it on IG on videos.
Yeah, like exactly.
So, like how-to videos.
So like I feel like you need to let collectors know because not everybody is going to know. Like they don't know what to look for. They don't know what you're going to do with them grading wise. Like we're sending you cards to grade. We're giving you money. Again, let us know what the parameters are. Like now we know with SGC, if there's anything there that shouldn't be there, they're going to kick it back, and they should. That's the right call. And, you know, if we don't see anything on our cards that looks weird, then we can send it. It's okay to grade. We know that now. But, you know, PSA, you're going to grade 1 million cards a month. That's great. But give us some guideline on what you're going to do about this. So we know, just so people out there that are considering sending you their cards, spending their money with you, know what to do. I don't think that's too much to ask.
How long did it take PSA to, and I'll just say all grading companies, but PSA is the biggest, right? How long did it take PSA to figure out how to catch trimming? I mean, trim cards are still right. wasn't there a big thing with the playoff contenders, or I'm sorry, Panini contenders a couple of years ago with Trey Lance autographs? Like
that wasn't even a couple years ago. That
was earlier this year. Yeah,
year.
I'll tell you what, the hobby, it's like dog years, man. Like a month in the hobby is like 7 years.
Yeah, definitely.
But they still can't catch trimming. You know, like the technology is just outpacing the scam technology is outpacing PSA or graders technology, right? So Peter's saying if there's anything that we're not sure about, we're kicking it back. I don't know if PSA does that. You know, if they can't even catch trimming, or it takes some blowout cards or whoever is catching this stuff to post it on websites, if it takes that for them to realize, oh wait, maybe we're not catching all this stuff, I don't trust that they ever will. I mean, the technology is always going to outpace them in how to change cards to make them better, to make them look better or appear better.
Yeah, I mean, it's the steroids thing, right? Like the steroids, steroid use in sports is always they're always ahead. The steroids are always ahead of the regulations. I think going back to what Mike said, like PSA has, they put on, like, they have their list of all the different things. Oh, this is what will make it go from a 10 to a 9, all that sort of stuff. But then we see like that Hulk Hogan 101 with the centering that was definitely not 60-40. Like maybe they need to have all their people go back and look, hey, this is what we use to determine what the grades are.
Go to the website and look at it.
Yeah. If that's gonna be their guidelines for their people, like, go by that.
But by the way, the 52 mantle they use in the examples, you know how they have the 52 mantle in different grades as they use the examples. The one they have on the website looks way better than the one they actually graded a 10. So maybe they should go back and look, or maybe they should add something to their website where it says you can do these things to a card before you send it to us. This is it. If we have evidence of any of these anything else, no, you can wipe it down.
It's okay to do this.
It's okay to do this.
It's not this.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Thought it was funny this week too. Did you see CSG graded their first 52 mantle, and their head grader, he in my opinion, threw a little shot at PSA about the PSA 10 because he talked about the 8 that he gave it, and they talked about why it got the grade it did and stuff, and he said it had a little bit of a diamond cut to it, that it would have gotten a higher grade if it wouldn't have had that. And instantly I was like, yeah, that's right. That's our problem with the PSA 10 mantle that we saw. That little bit of a diamond cut is just enough, and apparently CSG's head grader is like, that should bring a card down, but I just thought that was kind of fun. All right, gonna move on to our last topic. You know, a number of podcasts ago, I think we were really the only people out here that even talked about it. There was a Michigan man that was counterfeiting, you know, the guy that has been doing it forever, back to the Will Clark days when his roommate's dad had a printing press in another country and he was having them print cards for him. Well, he got sentenced to 30 months in prison for the counterfeiting. I believe was $43,000 worth of cards he sold to a couple over a period of time. But just wanted to update that a little bit. I don't know. Maybe he needs to find a better roommate that their dad has a better printing press.
Right.
That would be my start if you're going to do this. But yeah.
Maybe that's where all those red packs are going. You know, maybe his buddies marking those packs or something. Maybe
same guy.
Maybe he's working with Backyard Breaks. We don't know. We don't know what's going on.
There's a whole underground ring that we're just seeing the surface. We're skimming the surface.
Illuminati.
It's happening.
The Illuminati of cards. I mean, we're joking around, but 30 months in jail is not nothing. And
for 43,000, that seems like a pretty harsh sentence, right?
And
like 2 years in jail.
Let people know
2.5.
That's, I mean, he was committing fraud. Which, you know, at what point is trimming a card and passing it off as something way more valuable than it is? At what point is that fraud and could come with prison sentences? So people need to, I mean, sometimes this, as fun as this hobby is, and as much as it seems like just, you know, a bunch of kids collecting pieces of cardboard, right? There's a lot of money involved. And when there is, there's some stiff penalties for when you try and deceive people. So keep that in mind. It's not just all fun and games, you know.
Yeah, I'm glad to see it too. And, I hope that this message does get around a little more. I know a lot of the content creators actually picked up on it now that the guy was sentenced. But, before that, there was really nobody talking about it. I had seen an article about it and I didn't watch any videos about it. I thought it was like quite amazing, like the whole system he had, how long he had been doing it. I thought it was funny that his roommate's dad had a printing press. Yeah,
our pod below.
I'll have to find which pod it was, but yeah, so people need to understand, if this little stuff you're doing to scam people is actually illegal, there could be penalties and punishment for doing it. I got
30 months apparently
out of $100 on Twitter from a guy who just took my money and then never sent me cards. That kind of stuff you need to understand at some point. Like I could call the police in the town he lives in and they could visit him. Like I probably should do that. Maybe I will. But yeah, there can be repercussions for your actions. And hopefully this might at least scare a couple people out of doing it.
Right. Chris Sewell did he does a really good video series of, adventures in the hobby, I think he calls it. And he actually talked about a person that called the cops on him because that the guy was just regretful of a deal that he made and called the cops on him, and the cops were like, just give him the card back, and there was a whole thing. And it's, again, this is a hobby where people will scam you. If there is $1 involved, they will scam you.
Yeah,
Mike, yours was $100. The next person that guy scams could be for $1,000. How many times do we see on Twitter, someone just ghosted me after they agreed to a deal, or someone just ghosted me after I sent them money? That happens a lot. And you, as a buyer, as a collector, you need to protect yourself as well. Not you specifically, Mike, just in general, make sure you're sending goods and services. If you're a buyer, make sure that vouches don't even matter. If you see someone vouched on Twitter that has like, oh, this guy's a great seller, he's wonderful. All it takes is one. Yeah. All it takes
even
is
if you trust them, even if they're somebody that you've known and you've talked to.
He sent me goods and services one time.
Exactly. I mean, I don't blame him. I don't trust you either.
By accident, sure.
Hey, you have to protect yourself.
Yeah, Joe, going back to your one point, like if you think about it, like if somebody alters a 1952 mantle, let's say it's still raw, they alter it to make it a more perfect card, to make it look from an 8 to a 10, like more than $43,000. You know what I mean? Like, and they sell to somebody like that is essentially the same thing, and that's a crap ton of money, and probably even more than 2.5 years. It should be, but this is the first instance.
The problem PSA to get graded.
yeah.
The problem is the law, I don't think, has picked up as well on some of this stuff. So this case is actually a glimmer of hope, right? Yeah, I don't think the law, like, could you imagine going into a courtroom and saying, oh, I cut a little piece of this cardboard off, and now this card went from being worth, now it's from a PSA 8 to a PSA 10, and now it's worth $10 million instead of $2 million. Could you imagine like the stars in the judge's eyes and the prosecutor?
Right, exactly.
Like, this is not mainstream enough for people to get it yet, I don't think. And maybe you mentioned it was a harsh sentence, CP. Maybe it was because the judge just heard fraud 43 and just said, okay, we're just going to 30 months. That's what you're getting. Yeah. I don't know if the law is caught up with the hobby yet.
Can you imagine being in that courtroom when they're talking about, well, I trimmed a little bit off the card, everybody's rolling their eyes, or like leaning back, and they said, so it went from $2 million to $10 million. So everybody's like, what? What did you say?
For a little piece of cardboard?
Yeah.
For a little piece of cardboard?
You shaved a little piece of cardboard off?
All right, guys. That was a good chat this week. I'll wrap it up here. We'll be back next week. Take care, guys.
Adios.
See you, boys.